A disability is something that has a major impact on your life.
Every disability is different.
And it's never the same thing for two people. I am blind in my right eye totally and partially sighted in my left eye.
I was 18 years old. We were traveling way too fast on a gravel road. Broke my neck, my back.
My Asperger's syndrome and my cerebral palsy.
I have anxiety and depression. People would have no idea just talking to me.
Being independent means different things to different people.
I want to live in my own house. I want to pay my own bills.
Live independently and not rely on other people.
When someone is not able to live as independently as they can, it does have a detrimental effect on people's physical and mental well-being.
It's no complicated thing. It's just that people with disabilities want to be included.
Plenty of people get stuck in ruts when they feel like they can't overcome something in their life. That's where LIFTT comes in.
Living independently for today and tomorrow. LIFTT. We help people of all ages and all types of disabilities find the resources or acquire the skills to live as independently as possible.
We serve the southeastern 18 counties here at the Billings office. We have a variety of things that we offer. We can help with grant funding for adaptive equipment.
Maybe a home modification so they're able to access their home. We help people to find that funding.
Helping people apply for Social Security benefits.
Medicaid, Medicare, housing.
They have a peer support group. Peer support, I think, is key.
Sharing life experiences is one of the most powerful things to help people who might be new to disability, who might be struggling with their disability.
Youth transitions is kids that are transitioning out of high school. They need to learn those adulting skills. It might be rent an apartment, learn how to grocery shop, budgeting.
Help someone advocate for themselves in a school or an employment setting. One of our biggest strengths is providing folks with information and referral. If we can't help you, we hope to know who can.
A lot of times we'll have a potential consumer call in and they think that they just have one need, and it turns out that we end up finding 3 or 4 things we can actually do for them.
You can just come in and say, hey, I feel like I have this going on. Can you help me? And we can, which is so cool to me. I love that.
Most of us on staff at LIFTT have identified ourselves as having one or more disabilities. That is helpful in many cases.
It's easier to empathize with someone when you yourself have struggled with a disability.
This is what we specialize in. This is who we are, and this is what we do.
And it costs nothing to go to LIFTT. It's a nonprofit organization and they're there to help.
Somebody that was a consumer that was working with LIFTT was asked to do an art project. He visualized that the balloon helps to lift people up. And then it became the logo, and it's stuck.
There's been success on all kinds of levels.
It's really rewarding to have a consumer go, hey, I was able to do this by myself today.
We want people to live their best life as independent as possible.
Live as everyone else in society and live as a part of society, not apart from society.
Everybody needs help. Sometimes you just need a little more help, and that's okay. That's absolutely okay.
There's plenty of life to live still, and there's a way you can do it. Keep chipping away at it, little by little by little.
Knowledge is power. Let's share it, for crying out loud.
Send us an email, give us a call. We'll do our best to help.
We can definitely help figure out what your needs are and get started on that. We're one of many steps in the path to independence, and we're happy to be serving people here in the community.
Good day and welcome to Living Well in Montana. Living Well in Montana is a program of living independently for today and tomorrow. LIFT, as we often call ourselves, LIFTT. My name is Jed Barton, and I am a public relations specialist at LIFT. And if you're interested in learning more about LIFT, which is what is known as a Center for Independent Living, we are a nonprofit center for advocacy and resources for persons with disabilities of all ages and all types of disabilities, and we serve an 18-county region of southeastern and south central Montana. So if you're interested in learning more, please visit our website at liftt.org or download our mobile app in the Android and Apple app stores. Today we have I won't say old friend, but a friend here with us. Kristi Drake is the executive director of Billings TrailNet. And Kristi, we've worked on a lot of different projects, mostly around grant funding for trail accessibility. So welcome. If you could talk a little bit first about what TrailNet is.
Thank you. Yeah, pleased to be here. Billings TrailNet is a nonprofit organization that raises money for biking and walking and wheeling and rolling and accessible trails for all. And we've been a nonprofit since about 1994, and we've raised over $2 million for the trail system. So far, we've given the city almost $800,000 in trail in donations for trail amenities and trail development.
So often what TrailNet does is raise money and then turn that money over to the city for the construction and maintenance of the trail system. And,
yes. Mm-hmm.
And about how big now is the trail system? How many miles?
There are about 50 miles of trails.
50 miles of trails in most parts of the community, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's our goal, is to get trails wherever you are. We want you to be able to get out your door and get on a trail system. And really make it an equitable trail system so that there is no neighborhood that has to, that isn't near something that you can get out and get exercise and fresh air. It's just not fair to, have to load up a car to get to a recreation site. Yeah,
makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
The last time you were here, we were talking about Lillis Park and that trail, and there's been some movement with that project.
Yeah, I'm happy to say that will be moving forward in springtime. So I'm an avid cyclist, and I used to live over on the west end, and I would take the trail that goes kind of over the bridge over the Arnold Drain near, not Meadowlark School. I think Meadowlark School.
Meadowlark's over there. You get a little further west, Will James Trinity Lutheran School.
Yeah. And just right next to Lillis Lane, there's a really nice trail, but there were so many cracks in it, and you had to kind of get into the grass in order to move along. Right. The other thing that was particularly cruel was that there were bollards on either side of the on the bridge that traversed the ditch.
Right.
And so people who are in that apartment building where there are people
right across from Trinity Lutheran, there's a senior and disabled apartment building.
Yes, exactly. And so if you're in a wheelchair, there's no accessing the trail system. So that is all going to get done.
And again, you did use the word cruel, and again, somebody put those bollards there because not necessarily because they don't like people with wheelchairs.
No.
I don't wanted to point that out.
Right.
It's that they're not thinking about wheelchairs. They're thinking about preventing the people with motorcycles and golf carts and stuff.
Yes.
And so and that's a lot of accessibility work in our neighborhoods, and when we do safe routes to schools and stuff, it's pointing out that the you know, what you're preventing is not always what you think you're preventing.
Right, and there is no intention to be
right,
cruel.
Right.
But it's just an oversight.
Yeah.
And
now that it will be rectified.
Yes. Yeah. So that work is going to be going this spring, and they're going to actually be just tearing up the asphalt and then laying new asphalt, putting in a concrete pad so that people in wheelchairs or any other kind of mobility device can get up to the picnic tables.
Right.
And then removing the bollards.
Some picnic tables there in Lillis Park. Lillis Park is one of those. We have all of these. We have parks all over the.
Yes.
Much like you said about the Hope for the TrailNet, one of the things you do notice is that you go almost any part of town and there's parkland.
Yes.
And you know, Lillis Park is one of those. It's longer than it. I guess it's runs north to south is a kind of a way to say it. Or it's longer than it is wide, but there's quite a bit. There's a playground and some.
There's adaptive a playground there,
right?
And you know, really a lot of things.
Right.
Pickleball courts.
Right. I didn't know what I knew there were courts there. I didn't know whether they were still tennis courts or some of them had been converted to pickleball. But
yeah. So, but this trail is it actually goes east-west.
Right.
So, yeah.
And it again it's if I remember from some of the work we did, it's part of the network of safe routes to schools to the schools we've mentioned. And again, some of the kids in that neighborhood also attend Burlington School is one of the things I learned working on the grant with you guys. And so that brings us to sort of the next grant that we're working on at Christmas time here and submitting to the I believe it was to the State Fish, Wildlife, and Parks Department. Yeah. And that is one for adjustments to Black Otter Trail.
Yes.
That's a name I have heard for a long time. I know it's up in the Heights. Where exactly is it?
Yeah. So if you go up to, really, you know where Swords Park is?
Yeah.
Swords Park is the Black Otter Trail.
Okay.
So it's some people call it the Swords Park Trail, but it's not that's not the name of the trail.
Right.
That's the park.
Right.
So the Black Otter Trail kind of starts where the airport roundabout is.
Okay.
And then it goes all the way across Swords Park, up through like that Boot Hill area, down.
Okay, so the
down from Yellowstone Kelly.
Down into the river. To the river, or
yeah,
to
the Alkalite Creek trail system.
To Alkalite Creek trail system. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, what is the purpose of the grant that has been written for and will hopefully be awarded?
Again, the cracking. So I was ride my bike all the time, and you're not going to believe this. I found 502 cracks spanning the width of the trail, and so
that's in the asphalt or the
it's in the asphalt. And it was really interesting. Our Parks Department has the director told me that they have not ever had funding to seal coat asphalt trails, and that's why they prefer concrete, because concrete is a lot easier to maintain over the long run. But asphalt's cheaper to build in the short run.
Oh, okay.
And so you build an asphalt trail, and then if you don't seal coat it every 3 to 5 years, then you get this cracking.
Right.
And up there, you've got a lot of weathering. And I think that trail is at least 15 years old, if not more.
I would think so.
And so never having been seal coated, you've got these cracks that run the width of the trail. And I know I have a hard time when I'm riding my bike. I'm ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk. And so it's really unpleasant. Sometimes the cracks are so deep I have to kind of go around where sort of the edge of the trail is and to the natural landscape. So this will crack seal, so you'll get those those black
and these are funds made available through the Montana State.
So this is this is a trail stewardship grant, and so this is the one that we wrote a couple of years ago for the Lillis Park Trail was they're both for to the Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. Trail stewardship is not federally funded. It is state funded. So it's our that $5 fee that is on driver registration or motor vehicle registration. It's an optional fee. If you check that, that money goes into this fund. Also the marijuana tax. So trail stewardship, remember the marijuana tax when that, or the marijuana was legalized, they allowed 4%, I believe, of the sales tax revenue to go to Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. And so they've got about $2 million in funding, and that's for the entire state. So, you know, there's probably 30 applications or 50 applications from all around the state.
So it's a competitive process, no doubt.
And
so you're talking about, you know, the fact that this has been there 15 years, and so again, and resealing asphalt is not quite repaving, right?
It's not repaving, but we'll be sealing in the cracks and then sealing the entire trail, which should happen again another 5 years. But, you know, that'll really make a much smoother surface, because I do see, you know, people are up there, and if I don't see people up there with assistive mobility devices, there's a good reason for that. It's really difficult. And with, you know, with my big tires on a bike, that's one thing. But if I had, you know, a wheelchair or a walker or anything like that, it would just really, you know, kind of get stuck in the cracks.
And so that's a very good point. And there are and again, trail maintenance is obviously one of those things, because, you know, people get all excited to raise the money to build a trail. And then you got to maintain it. And so it's always interesting to, you know, to figure out how we're going to do that, and to have what resources we do, and we obviously need more, but again, everybody does. So, so it becomes interesting. Any other projects in the sort of the pipeline that?
Well, another grant that we wrote, the Recreational Trails Program grant, was to get a signage up at the between Colson Park, near the river, all the way to the Alkali Creek Trail system, just near Aronson. Because I noticed, and the city has actually applied for a grant for that area before, that there are no signs that tell you where the next trail is, and there's a lot of forks in the trail. And so just signing it so that people can kind of plan their route, predict how long, and, you know, can I take my kids, and then some trail etiquette. So we're hoping that we're going to get that grant also. And I just want to ask your readers, if they feel so inclined, and if these trails,
I was going to get to that, but there is a space for public involvement in the adjudication of these grants, correct? And you were saying that how our viewers can participate?
Yeah, that would be great. If they feel so inclined, we would love to have public comment. I believe the State Trails Advisory Committee is the committee that reviews all of the grants throughout the state. And then I used to be on that committee, so I kind of have an insider's knowledge about it. Public comment from the community really does make a difference. So public comment will be during that meeting, and the State Trails Advisory Committee is reviewing the grant applications on March 19th through 20th. And so we will put up on our website, which is billingstrailnet.org, the exact time and the link to it. But if you would like to, you know, look at it now, just go to Fish, Wildlife, or Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks State Trails Advisory Committee, and you should be able to see. You can even sign up for news, for information updates.
And so there'll be a public hearing, no doubt, in Helena, but they'll have a Zoom link or something?
Yep, they should have a Zoom link. In fact, this year they're going to be meeting in Billings, so that'll be really interesting.
Neat.
Yeah.
That's one of the...
But otherwise, yeah, we're working on all kinds of different grant applications and you know, promoting trails. We did get a grant to extend the Big Ditch Trail from kind of where, if you're familiar with Rimrock West Park and the Big Ditch Trail, that's
yeah, where it ends there, just you're south, you're directly south of the LDS Temple, right, where it ends?
Yes.
Okay, yeah,
exactly.
that's my neighborhood.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, good. Okay. So there was a neighborhood that came in just to the west of the Big Ditch Trail, where it turns sharply to the north.
Great.
And it's a cul-de-sac that faces north. And so the people in that cul-de-sac can't access the Big Ditch Trail without having to trudge through mud or go 3 or 4 blocks to get to the trail system.
Right.
It is another access, so the kids, you know, can get to school, to Arrowhead School or Boulder Elementary. So we got that grant, and I just, in fact, gave the City of Billings a check for that project for $58,000 yesterday.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So will that be on the summer
that should
construction
also,
to-do list then?
Lots and lots of trail projects are happening this spring and summer because of things that Billings TrailNet has done and the City of Billings. So,
and it's like they say, we have 2 seasons in Montana, winter and
road construction.
Road and trail construction.
Yes, right, trail construction.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So again, Billings TrailNet again has been around quite a while. Are there ways for the public to engage in your work?
Absolutely, yes. A lot of, you know, I told you that we were an advocacy and fundraising. Advocacy is another big part of it. We do have a lot of needs for people to write into City Council and talk to their City Council member if trails are important to them, and particularly with people with mobility issues, because I think that a lot of times in the political environment, it's easy for people to think, for policymakers to think that trails are just for those, you know, bicyclists or dog walkers or athletes that are, you know, training for marathons and things like that. When it's actually, there are trails for all. And I have run into so many people in wheelchairs and in walkers who really count on the trail system for outdoor exercise.
Yeah, not only, if I may, not only recreation and exercise, which is obviously very important, physical fitness. I'll have our health coaches after me if I don't say this, but physical fitness is obviously a very important part of keeping one's health, both physically and mentally. But, you know, the trail system or parts of it, you know, I look at it, and, you know, we've been in meetings where we're looking at what to do next, and I always look at it as a way to help people get places.
Absolutely, for transportation.
And again, to have those corridors where you're on your, I use a tricycle, an adult tricycle, because of my mobility issues. I never could balance a bicycle, but you know, to just have those corridors where, you know, there's a tunnel to cross a street, a busy street, or there's, you know, a way to get there that you don't have to go on the busiest street, and, you know, and the same is true even for, you know, bike lanes. Striped bike lanes, I find, are usually, you know, people don't necessarily always pay attention to where they are, but for the most part they do, and for the most part even somebody like me who's probably not on his conveyance enough feels somewhat comfortable even in those lanes. So again, there's a, you know, it's not just building access to nature, it's building access to community.
Absolutely, yeah. And it is, and it's access to community in so many ways. It's access to places where you want to go, and that's where I've encountered people in wheelchairs that are getting themselves from their apartment building to an appointment. Also, access to seeing other people who aren't exactly like you. You know, you do strike up a conversation while you're on a trail, and and just a simple hi with to somebody who you don't know. It really is a community builder, and something that I think is, where else do we do that? There's no other place. You know, you can go to a grocery store, but that's, you know, it's just not the same. It's not the same kind of relaxed atmosphere where there's nothing better than to just say hello.
Yeah, exactly. And, and again, if you're a dog lover, it's heaven, I imagine.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why I really would encourage and hope that your viewers would write into City Council and tell City Council that trails are important to them, because they use them for, you know, the different purposes that they do, and how critical they are, because trails are not necessarily there. You know, there's a little half and half with City Council.
Like everything else, they've become enmeshed in the wider cultural conversation for whatever reason.
A little bit political, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and they're not. I mean, they're for everyone.
And they're not. They're.
Yeah.
So, the 2 minutes or so left.
2 minutes, my goodness. This has flown by.
You mentioned a couple of websites that people should check out.
Yes, we'd love to have people look at billingstrailnet.org. That is our website, and that's where you can get a lot of information, and also sign up for our newsletter if you're interested in just trail news. You can always communicate with me, contact me. I'm Kristi, Kristi, at billingstrailnet.org. And then if you're interested in the State Trails Advisory Committee, the 2 different grant applications we have out there, and you'd like to make public comment, that would just be the Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. Just Google that, and the State Trails Advisory Committee.
All right. Kristi Drake, thank you for joining us today. Again, this has been Living Well in Montana, a program of living independently for today and tomorrow. We are an advocacy and resource center for people of all ages with all types of disabilities throughout 18 counties in southeastern and south central Montana. My name is Jed Barton. For more, please visit LIFTT.org. Thank you and good day.